Faith, Feminism and Scholarship, The Next Generation is a co-edited volume by myself and Melanie Harris. It was an opportunity for us to bring together a collaborative group of scholars to think through current day questions of faith and feminism. More specifically, questions about how activism and scholarship collide, divide, and bring us together in common conversations. Many of us in the volume have worked in church settings, have worked currently as scholars or academics teaching in college and seminary classrooms, and others of us have worked at nonprofit groups working on social justice issues. This mix, both in our work and professional experience, in our activist commitments, as well as our own personal backgrounds, our racial ethnic diversity, our global diversity. Perhaps the one thing that was not very diverse about us, that brought us together, were our Christian commitments. We do hope that this conversation of faith and feminism in the next generation is continuing to grow and become both interreligious as well as global in terms of people who work outside of the US context. But sometimes there are limits to getting projects done, and those were a few of the limits that we had. So we started this conversation mostly around questions of how activism and scholarship are set up, how they sometimes work against people who have particular feminist and womanist commitments, especially in religious studies. However, we weren't just trying to trouble that divide. We wanted to go back and ask ourselves questions about the ways in which generations before us have contributed to the scholarship we do today, to the fact that there are so many of us, even here in the academy, to have conversations like this, to write a book. So we honor those generations that have come before us, that have made these conversations possible, and we push ourselves further. We ask questions about the way in which feminism has changed and is changing, ways in which the womanist conversations themselves have changed and contribute to new insights, how issues of globalization and post-coloniality influence the ideas we have about feminism. So as these conversations shift and change, perhaps we hear the metaphors of waves of feminism. Many of us would generationally be considered third wave feminists, but each of us troubles that in our own interesting comments, experiences, and writing. We took this as an opportunity to think deeply and collectively. It was a wonderful project to do together. We hope that you'll have the chance to read the entire volume, but for those of you who don't, we look forward to bringing you parts, insights, small conversations that came out of that book. Those scholars who have volunteered to write blogs to share this conversation with a broader audience are myself and Rachel Harding. We were both in the first section of the volume, which addressed the issue of use of personal experience, coming to voice faith and feminism, ways in which personal experience have been the hallmark of feminism, but have also been academically derided as not rigorous, and yet prove to be insightful in our journeys related to faith and feminism. A way in which we have to start the conversation. We have to acknowledge that our experience matters, that it influences what we think and how we write, and that we make a space for other people's experiences to challenge our own. The second section, Keeping the Light, Sharing Stories, Sharing Strength, was an opportunity to really consider how feminist theory itself and feminist methodologies have changed the study of religion, have changed the ways in which we understand feminism today, And MT Devia will be bringing us a blog related to that, specifically how ethnography and participant action research are ways in which the methods of feminism themselves are lived out across the academy, but can deepen our understanding of any issue and can be built on values of partnership, inclusivity, and ownership of people's ideas and communities. The last section, Walking the Talk, Embodied Feminist Pedagogies, wanted to bring into concrete the ways in which activism can happen in classrooms, how our scholarship passes on in deep ways, getting new generations to think about these issues, but also to help us as scholars and many of you working in ministry and faith-based organizations rethink the ways in which feminism and a commitment to activism change the ways in which we act, the ways in which we teach. Jennifer Harvey will be discussing how a commitment to anti-racism and interrogating whiteness works within our everyday lives and functions in a classroom. She offers opportunities for you to think through how this might be a way to trouble your own commitments and rethink your understandings of how white supremacy functions in how we understand activism and feminism. And Melanie Harris will be talking about the ways in which our own presence, our embodied lives, for her specifically as a Black woman, challenges and enriches a learning experience, as well as how that requires a deep level of self-care and balance in our lives. Being activist scholars is an awesome opportunity. It's one we don't often take for granted. And it's one we love to talk about and get other people talking about. So we hope that these blogs will bring you to a place of creativity, of rethinking how feminism should be considered, how it might be rewritten, and what legacies it comes with. But also, maybe it'll make you pick up the book, read the other authors we have, and join us in the conversation of how faith, feminism, and scholarship is shaping the next generation. Thanks for joining us in this conversation.